between the City of Courtenay and the Comox Valley Regional District for a potential aquatic service study. And this would also include a review of where neighboring communities are heading with their aquatic services and facilities to assist in decision making. So if there's a neighboring facility down the road or up the road that looks to build a 30 or 40 or $50 million facility, then our direction may go to the right. If there's no such new facilities being built, maybe our direction goes to the left. So it's really important to find out, not just within the community, but outside of the community around us, what's going on. So taking that wholesome review of recreation service needs will help with ensuring recreation services can be provided at a sustainable service that meets the needs of our region. So now, maybe without further ado, I would like to introduce Glenn Stokes from Carskaddon, who completed the Pool Basin study, and I believe he is on via Zoom.
Hello, can everyone hear me who wants to?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. So thank you. My name is Glenn Stokes from Carskaddon Stokes McDonald Architects. We recently completed the review of the aquatics area at the Comox Valley Sports Facility and I know I have about 10 minutes to present a couple slides, so I'll do that. We did a review earlier this year with ourselves, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and envelope engineers to provide a review of the aquatic side, the goal of which was to identify both specific maintenance upgrades and also larger code issues or accessibility issues if they arose, and to generate a report. There were two additional studies done simultaneously. One was the ground penetrating radar that was done under the pool tank slab, just to double check to see if there are any voids that had developed over time. And the summary of that report was no undermining or subsurface voids were detected on any of the scans. So as best as we're able, there does not appear to be voids under the tank. The other study was camera inspection where possible of the piping under the deck and in the change rooms. And generally speaking, the condition of the existing cast iron is poor and in need of replacement. And although not all pipes were able to be seen, it's expected that all of the underslab pipes probably are in the same condition. So that was the general overview of what we did. So next slide, please. This little diagram was in the report that presumably you've seen. It's our way of doing what's called a facility condition index, and it tracks major building elements across the time that they are installed, how well they're being maintained, their relative cost of replacement. And I know it's a bit cryptic, but the dark blue means that the components have life, and the light blue means the components have life remaining. And then by tracking it across all the components and their various costs, we generate a facility condition index. So for this facility overall, if you squint from a satellite, it's somewhere between poor and good condition because a bit of its age, but I would say that it's been maintained very well over time. So, so that's what this slide kind of represents. Thank you. But more specifically then, the team generated a list of quite a few maintenance upgrade items, which are, the highlights are here. We broke them into 4 categories. One is immediate and code items. The second category was medium term, so next 2 to 5 years. Green was 5 to plus years, and the last one was optional enhancements. You don't need to do anything in that category. They're just optional, and we can discuss that more as needed. In the short term then, the main drains don't technically comply with current code, so it's recommended to do some repairs to the main drains. It's just how codes have improved over time. And the heat exchanger and some electrical items are all in kind of immediate replacement timeline. Kind of a value of those is $215,000. Over the next 5 years, largely the roof needs to be replaced, but that's a relatively normal thing. There were some slopes in the change rooms which have a bit of ponding, which we would recommend some repairs. The piping that I talked about with in poor repair, we recommend repairing. Most of the pool mechanical systems are sort of ready to be replaced in the next 5 years, and most of the air handling systems are due to be replaced in the next 5 years or so. So you can see a pretty big number, which basically is an overhaul of all the mechanical systems at $2 million, as we're at that magical time when they're ready to be replaced. The long term then is after you do that major overhaul, there's not a whole lot in the next category. There's some updates to the change rooms we recommend, another rooftop unit that's in better condition, and just some general pool accessories that should be updated over time. So that one's a smaller number at 275 or 273,000. And then optional enhancements, these are just optional, but we include them because we were asked to just do a full review. Technically, the shape of the pool doesn't meet current code when it comes to diving. You don't have to fix it, but if you were to do other repairs, you might consider changing the shape of the pool to meet the current standards for diving. Update the change room and deck tiles to meet current slip resistance standards. They've updated over time. And you might consider doing a seismic study and some seismic upgrades, which was not done as part of our study, but that could be something you would look at as well. Is, you know, ballpark number at $2 million. And so what do you do with all this information? The next slide then has some recommendations for your consideration. So what I kind of did is, so there's 3 strategies, A, B, and C, and then there's a funny little diagrams at the bottom showing how far you might go for each of those 3 options. So option A, we recommend you do, you know, the code and the 0 to 1 year items, and some of the 5-year items if they start failing. And that's just basically to help the building kind of keep going for another about 5 years. And maybe you're going to replace it with another project or do some other work. So it would be about $500,000 to kind of do 0 to 1 and some of the 5-year stuff to keep you going for 5 years. And that's that little bubble on the bottom left. Then B would be, okay, I'm going to go for 10 more years. Then I really have to do all of that stuff in the 0 to 1 category, 2 to 5 and 5 plus. Which when you added it all up together is $2.7 million kind of used up over 10 years. So I guess you could kind of say $270,000 a year for 10 years would get you more or less tracking on that program. And just for the full scope of what you could do, you could also do all of the optional enhancements, which really be equivalent to refurbishing the project and the building to be as new condition. So you should really expect it to last 40 to 50 more years if you're going to build or rebuild the building or renovate it to as new condition. And that as new condition, with everything we've seen, we have at $4.7 million. And that's basically everything that was in the previous category. Well, that's my overview, and I'm sure there might be some questions. So perhaps I'll pass it off for questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's nice to see asset management in action. Any questions from the directors? If you're online, just maybe raise your voice. Otherwise, any questions from around? Director Hillian is first.
Thank you, Chair. It's not actually a question. I just wanted to say thanks for the presentation. And also, I think based on what you've reported, we should be grateful for the people who've maintained and managed the building over these years, that it's in the shape that it is. And that's a really useful insight for us. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hillian. Further questions? Online, I don't see anyone. So I guess just to set up a little bit, there's going to be some recommendations. I may have a quick question for staff and for consideration of the commission as well. So I remember a couple of meetings ago, we had talked about the aquatic center and other facilities as the approach end of life and potential conversion of some of those facilities to other uses. Is there anything like that that is going into the considerations for the recommendation, or?
Through the chair, that's certainly something that we do have to think about. But this is just one piece of that puzzle. Mm-hmm. We kind of need to get that wholesome view, before we can really grit down and point at a direction. But that is absolutely one of the things that will come into play. We have a good envelope there. And if that's not necessarily a location for a pool facility at some point, then, we want to make use of that piece. So that will certainly be part of included in the whole big picture.
That's great. Thank you. And I guess recommendation 2, we'll look at the aquatic center if it moves ahead as well.
Yes.
And the first one, when it relates to the staff report, it would be the option to proceed with basically option A that was presented by Mr. Stokes. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Any further question, Dr. Amir?
Thank you, Chair. I'm fully in support of the staff recommendation. My question is more around, looming, we have this on the 10-year horizon, about a $3 million-ish, requisition need. And I'm wondering how far in advance we start planning for that. Is it just within the 5-year plans, or do we need to start socking away money now for, something to happen within 10 years?
Through the chair, so we certainly do need to be looking at tucking away money. Generally, to come to fruition of a new facility, it usually takes anywhere between sort of 6 to 8 years. So we have that lead time where we need to be making sure that we're financially prepared if that's the motion that we're going to go towards.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, I guess we'll be able to move to the recommendations. If anybody would like to move the first one. Oh, sorry. Oh, vote on receipt, of course. On receipt, all in favor? Anyone opposed online? Nobody? Okay, thank you. That's passed. So now moving to recommendation 1. Second, thank you. Any discussion on recommendation 1? No, we've got a quiet group today. Maybe everyone just had lunch. Oh yeah, one question. Thank you. Director Kether.
Yeah, so just confirming what is going into this recommendation. It was option A, which is just the minimum. And what was the dollar value attached to that?
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. The recommendation is that the financial plan includes recommendation for Comox Valley Sports Center, which refers back to the sports, to the staff report. And I think it's the $550K year 1 to 5 recommendation. Is that correct, staff?
This is correct, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
550,000.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. And Dr. Moran.
Squeezed a question out of me. And I guess the impacts of COVID have been considered in this in terms of the lower usage. I mean, I guess I'm wondering, do we still need that amount and that plan for upgrades, even with the reduced usage of the facility?
Through the chair, certainly to get all the code items up to date and the roof as well. That'll be the other big item. Those are sort of the requirements just to use that structure, but other things can certainly wait, as we move through COVID and see which direction we really want to go for the community.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. There being no further questions on recommendation 1, I guess I'll do a roll call for it, or is there somebody else? No? Okay, so I guess we'll.
I was going to make a comment, but maybe you didn't see my hand up.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Director Fish. Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, and thanks, Jennifer, for the report. I guess I'm just confirming what I think I'm hearing is that we're kind of just doing the bare minimum right now to keep things going, and we'll reassess perhaps next year when we understand where our usage is going to be at based on COVID. Is that your sentiment as well? And that we very well might want to move ahead with a fuller $3 million project over the next while, if in fact we think that usage is going to pick up.
Through the chair. So certainly we're going to move along and get the code items completed and potentially the roof. And then we do need to complete a study on the aquatic center and a partnership study with the city of Courtenay in respect to aquatic services. And then at that point, we'll be able to make a bit more of a wholesome decision on how much further we'll move forwards with the sports center pool, or whether we take a different approach. And in the meantime, we continue to, put money away so that we get closer to being prepared for what that decision will be, within the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I missed it. Was there a sort of a implication, or is this kind of on par with our level of taxation that we've been doing in the past?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, no, I was curious about how this will affect our taxation level, if this is sort of on par with the amount we've taxed in the past, or if this will have a significant impact on that.
Through the chair, this will certainly have an impact on the requisition at some point. And we look to sort of get beyond the COVID scenario before we start looking at those, potentially at that. So certainly not for 2021, but moving forwards, that is something that we really have to seriously consider in order to complete, whether it's this work here to keep the sports center going or whether it's to move forwards with another facility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I see Dr. Cole Hamilton also has a question.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just noticing that work on the air handling facilities is in the 2 to 5 year range, and I just want to confirm that means that the current air handling is adequate and sufficient given the needs of COVID and air filtration.
Through the chair, I'm going to introduce Cecil Vaughn, the manager of operations, to give you an answer to that one.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. We currently meet all the specifications that we need with COVID and what have you.
Yeah, and it was specific to ventilation, Dr. Cole Hamilton?
Yeah, sorry. Through the chair, on the ventilation, that's correct. We do meet all the codes as far as ventilation goes and what have you currently.
Okay, thank you. Does that satisfy your question, Dr. Cole Hamilton?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I thank staff for providing a bit more context around how the aquatic center condition assessment would play, and also that partnership with Courtney, so we have a fulsome understanding over the next couple of years of where we might want to head with aquatic services. So with that, if there's no further questions, I'll just call the vote on recommendation 1. I'll start with Dr. Hamir. In favor, Dr. Grant. Dr. Swift. Dr. Kettler. Dr. Morin. Dr. Hillian. Dr. Frisch.
In favor.
Trustee Howe.
In favor.
And Director Cole Hamilton.
In favor.
Thank you. That passes for the recommendation 1. And the next recommendation before us would be to invest $50,000 for facility condition assessments, similar to what we just did, but this time for the aquatic center. Is there a mover? Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion on this one? I think we covered it a little bit, so thank you. I guess we'll go to polling for the vote. Dr. Hamir, Dr. Grant, Dr. Swift, Dr. Kettler, Dr. Morin, Dr. Hillian, Trustee Howe.
In favor.
Dr. Frisch.
In favor.
And Dr. Cole Hamilton.
In favor.
Oh, is Dr. Grieve online? I don't believe he is. Oh, but he can't talk. Okay. Dr. Grieve's not in favor? Okay, well, we can, if it came through text, I'm not sure if our procedure bylaws that can still be counted as a vote, but it can? Okay, great. So we'll know that Dr. Grieve is not in favor. Okay, moving on to the next item, we have the Comox Valley Sports Center Commission Service Governance report. Over to staff. Yeah, for receipt, thank you. Seconder.
Through the chair, I will begin in 1 second. Through the chair, the purpose of this report is to introduce to the Comox Valley Sports Commission to update the Comox Valley Sports Commission bylaw to amend the commission's name and to expand its mandate to include the administration and operation of the Comox Valley Exhibition Ground Service Function 660. So the Recreation Service Department is currently responsible for delivering the Comox Valley Rec Complex Function 645, which includes the curling building, which is on the exhibition grounds. We also have the Comox Valley Track and Field Service, Function 601, and the Exhibition Grounds Service 660. However, the exhibition grounds is currently split between with the Committee of the Whole, and the other two report to the Comox Valley Sports Commission. If we were to include the administration and the operation of the Exhibition Grounds Service, this would facilitate a more comprehensive approach to the recreation service offerings. Encompassing all three functions as recreational links or hubs or sites to be mandated by the Commission will provide a consistency and a commonality of recreation services. And this would also include the 2019 Commission's 5 strategic goals that would then apply to the exhibition grounds as well. While we silently already apply them, now we could officially apply them. This then provides a stepping stone to a name change for the Comox Valley Sports Centre Commission to the Recreation Service Commission. So we can walk the path together. Changing the name will encompass and pull together all the functions with recreational similarities, therefore better reflecting the scope of the services and the facilities governed by the Commission. And questions, that's all.
Thank you very much. Over to the directors for questions. Dr. Hamir.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Jennifer. So fully in support of this idea. I think when I was a new director, it always confused me why the exhibition grounds was separate and how that was being managed. It was difficult for me to understand. And I think, the direction that this commission has given staff around taking rec services outside of the buildings, I think it's a natural fit to have the exhibition grounds then, encompassed in, because I see so many potential, rec services that could be provided if that function was kind of being planned holistically. My one question is around the Exhibition Grounds Society. How does that society, how does their governance then work with this committee, or is there any kind of overlap? Is that body only to do with the fall fair, or is there any other kind of management of the grounds that we have some overlap with?
Through the chair, they are primarily for the fall fair, or they are for the fall fair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Over to Dr. Hillian.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to staff for the reports. And it seems a very sensible approach. I was just curious about the financial factors, and it struck me that perhaps there would be some efficiencies gained through this in terms of staff time. You indicate there's no financial impact, but do we not gain any efficiencies through this consolidation?
Through the chair, the exhibition grounds has its own budget of 660, and then the recreation services, the 645. So in respects to efficiency, the staff are already divided up to cover both locations. I think there are processes that certainly can, there's processes we can put in place that will provide some efficiencies. It's primarily more to have the opportunity to have this commission that looks after recreation services to be able to encompass it all together in one. I think we'll see efficiencies with working with the commission, and processes and challenges and those kinds of things.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? I'm looking online as well. I'm not seeing hands raised. Okay, there seems. So, and for today, just for clarity from staff, the recommendation would actually allow staff to proceed and bring back a report for impacts on the bylaws and service of the Sports Commission, or what would be the next steps following this? Or would we just affirm today that it will become?
A report would come back with the actual bylaw amendments.
Yep.
If you adopt this recommendation. But I suggest you add one step to this, and that is to include in this recommendation and refer this to the school district for their input. Yes. And because they are a partner in this commission, their input would be helpful. And so with the staff report bringing back the bylaw changes, we'll include any comments from the school district if you include that.
That's right. Thanks for bringing that up. I don't know if Trustee Howe has comments on that, but it is true the exhibition grounds are not school property or anything, but I think we could be welcoming them and for their consideration to be included in some of those decisions as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so it'll come back to us. So then on to the recommendation, actually on receipts. Thanks. I'm looking at Ken. He's looking after me today. So on receipt, anyone opposed to receipt? All good. And a mover for the recommendation? Yes, that we include referring to school district 71 in the recommendation. We can make that an email. Oh, okay, Director Grieve, you have your hand up. Do you want to try to unmute and see if we can catch you? Press *6.
Hello?
You're here, Dr. Grieve. Hello.
This is the moon trying to call Earth. Earth, come in.
Go ahead. You've got the floor.
No, I just was trying to move the motion, but just to let everybody know the power's out here in Merville, so I'm on a landline with a curly cord.
Okay, well,
so I'll wait for the vote then.
We'll capture your vote while we have you. The motion.
Oh, by the way, for the record, the previous vote, James texted me saying, "Can you unmute? Can you hear me now, or can you unmute now?" And I said, "No, in favor." So I was in favor.
Okay,
yeah.
so we see the
so
limits
no
of
dot
texting.
dot in favor. Anyway,
I was gonna quiz you after the meeting about your vote. So thank you very much. Are you in favor of this motion as well? It's been
yeah, we may as well do that right away. Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Grief. Dr. Hamir, Dr. Grant, Dr. Swift, Dr. Kettler, Dr. Morin, Dr. Hillian, Trustee Howe.
In favor.
Thank you, Dr. Frisch.
In favor.
And Dr. Cole Hamilton.
In favor.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll look forward to this coming back. And the last item on the new business is produce a little chair's report. I don't know if there's any. Thank you. And any comments or questions on it? Director Hillian.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to thank you for a good job on the report. I think it puts a very positive light on the services and the challenges that have been faced through the year, and appreciate your work on it.
Thank you. And Dr. Hamir.
Right, similar comments. Thank you for your leadership in this very challenging year, and thanks to staff as well for making much of this happen. Just one question around some of the items that are coming up for work in 2021. Yesterday at electoral areas, we passed a motion to fund the electrical vehicle charging stations, which I think we'd also set aside some budget in this function, in this service, and wondering if you had any other ideas, like if you wanted to keep that budget there or to expand the number, or did you have ideas of what to do with that?
Yeah, thank you. And for directors that may not be fully in the loop, or Trustee Howe, we received some funds from the province and for grants for EV stations, and some of our facilities were listed, and we had a good discussion because the EASC may contribute some funds as well. I think at this point I would recommend we leave it at staff interdepartmentally through our CEO it's under planning and the RGS with Alana Mohali, I believe, and then maybe there can be a conversation. I don't think that has occurred yet. So perhaps at our next meeting, we would see something back. That sounds good. Yeah, and final comments for me. It's been a challenging year, obviously, for the Sports Commission, and all the kudos goes to staff. I've been so impressed by their responsiveness and keeping programs going and adapting, introducing protocols, and doing some facilities upgrade at the same time. So big kudos to staff for that. And with that, if there's anyone opposed to receipt of the report, Dr. Morris got your hand up. Go ahead.
Just a comment, not specifically related to the report, but I know that not just RD, but other local governments had a lot of pressure to reopen, particularly rec services. And I know we had quite a cautious approach across the board. And I think that the numbers increasing over the last couple of weeks have really reinforced what a thoughtful decision that was. And I'm really pleased that that we've done such a great job. Our staff has done such an incredible job regarding safety in our facilities. And I think if we had bolted ahead, like, unfortunately some other communities did in reopening quickly, we may have seen a different result here in terms of COVID numbers. So I just would like to thank staff for all their diligent work around that. Thanks.
Thank you. Very, very good comments. And as we know, 2021 may not be that different in the level of uncertainty and difficult decisions we face. It's been hard to see the Aquatic Center close for all this time, but as you say, and outside of staff and ourselves, we have to give huge kudos to our clubs and associations across the valley that have really gone beyond in terms of trying to provide programs to kids and adults alike. And hopefully we'll carry on in the same spirit in the months ahead. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure to serve as chair this year. And with that, I can have a mover for termination. Okay, and anyone opposed to termination? Doesn't seem like it. And thanks to the Vice Chair, Director Swift as well. Okay, we are adjourned.